True Review here for another Top 10 special. This time, we'll be looking at the top 10 times when a game has made you jump out of your chair to declare bullshit. These are the moments when video games do things that are straight out unnecessary or out of order to the player. This could be in the storyline or at any point during the gameplay. So let's start it off. Starkiller! Starkiller! Okay, let's kick this off with a bit of Star Wars The Force Unleashed. Although the title of the game sounds like something I do on the toilet every morning, this game kicks f***ing A. You are a powerful Jedi noob who happens to be more powerful than most of the Jedi Council, and on top of that, you are Darth Vader's apprentice and the one man who started the rebellion. Okay, that's a bit hard to believe that he's really powerful like that, but okay, whatever. But it gets worse. At the end of the game, you're on the Death Star trying to rescue your brethren when you come across Darth Vader and the Emperor too. So what does he do? Well, if he had any sense, then he'd run like f*** and leave Leia and the rest to die. To die a shocking death, might I add? But no, instead he goes in full blast and manages to take down both the Emperor and Darth Vader, two of the most powerful Sith Lords done in by an emotional teenager. Yeah, bullshit.
Working 9 to 5, what a way to make a living.
Unreal 2. This game, well, it sucked. But I still can't get over the fact that there are no checkpoints in this game. This is really a big issue in that I find this level in particular, when you have to cover this dude with sniper fire, really difficult, and I know that I'm going to fail the mission, but that means that I have to start all the way back at the beginning of the level. I'd expect this from an NES game or something, but this is Xbox, and this game was released in 2003. There's no excuse why I'd have to go all the way back to the beginning just because I can't do this bit here. And it feels like it takes a long time to get to this bit. This is the part I need practice on, so why can't I just start this bit again? This is f***ing bullshit.
And hold on tight, cause it's gonna be wilder than any 8-second ride.
GTA 4. I really love this game, but it comes, as all GTA games, with some amount of frustration, like this bit here. I need to blow up these vans using pipe bombs, but there's a very specific way of using them. You can't follow the vans from behind and throw the bombs forwards, no, because that would be a good idea. Instead, you have to be in front of the vans, guess the fuse time of the pipe bombs, and then throw one over your shoulder and hope that the van will go into the bomb's pathway. But there's no guarantee that the van will go near it, or it may even swerve and miss the bomb. Even worse, the van may go down a different road entirely, and you're left on the wrong one, looking like a mug, and so you have to go and chase it again. And being in front of the van is the worst place to be. In order to see whereabouts to throw the pipe bomb, you need to be looking behind you to see where the van is, so you'll know where to aim. But while you're doing that, you can't see what's in front of you. There's nothing more frustrating than looking behind to aim a pipe bomb, only to then crash straight into the back of a car and go flying to your death. That's so much bullshit.
Lane Goodman.
Aliens vs Predator, Marine Level 2. This is literally my worst nightmare. I hate getting face-hugged, so imagine my reaction when I got to the end of the second Marine level in the 2010 release of the AVP franchise. You've just been locked in a room with at least 20 alien eggs and they're all hatching. On top of that, your mission is now to kill everything that comes out of them. If this was in the movies, I'd be brown bread, no questions asked. Look at this! Who'd you know would be able to kill over 20 facehuggers with a pistol? Thank God this gun has unlimited ammo, but I'd rather use this gun on myself than never have to deal with this again. An unlikely scenario, and I'm afraid I have to give it the bullshit logo. Basically, smear bullshit all over it. Super Mario Land, or any variation of it. Ready to get mugged off by an 8-bit game? Super Mario it is. Although this game is the possible contender for the most classic game ever, it does have one part that is total and utter male cow poo-poo. Having gone through all the trials and dangers, Mario finally arrives at the end of the stage to rescue his lover Daisy, only to realise it's not Daisy. Like here, this is the Game Boy version. You get to the end of the stage and it's like, "Oh, Daisy, you're giving me a kiss, darling." And then all of a sudden she turns into a bug and flies away. If I were Mario, I'd get pretty paranoid by this. I think that when I'd eventually reach Daisy, I'd be like trying to tear her head off just to make sure that she's not a goddamn bug. But how long do these bug versions of Daisy last like her for? Could Mario believe that he's finally found her, then got married to her like a year later, and then at the altar, the priest would be like, "If anyone has any objection to this union, speak now or forever hold their peace." And someone in the crowd would shout out, "She's not really Daisy, she's a fly!" And then that would ruin Mario's life. I really need to stop getting off track. Nah, do you know what? I really need to stop smoking crack. Anyways, bullshit!
And my wife is dead.
I'm sorry to hear that.
High five!
The Titan Mutator on Unreal Tournament 3. This is a bullshit moment? Look, I think this game is great, and it does a very good job at bringing honour back to the UT name, but this 2009 add-on pisses me off somewhat. If you get enough kills, then you can level up and mutate into a bigger and stronger killer. Whilst in this state, you only have access to the shock rifle and rocket launcher, and you become almost unstoppable. After a certain amount of time, you go back to being you, and the game carries on. That's alright. However, whilst in this state you rack up some more kills, you can evolve again into a massive f***er and tear shit up even more. But here's the bullshit part. When the timer runs out on this upgrade, instead of reverting back to being normal size like you do in the first upgrade, you explode on a nuclear scale, killing everyone in the vicinity. Unlike the Redeemer Blast, this explosion's blast radius goes through walls, and so if anyone is caught in the blast zone, whether they're protected by walls or scenery or not, they'll be vaporized. This works both ways, and other players can level up in the same way. There's nothing more annoying than getting killed by a nuclear blast that's just come through the wall, only to respawn and get killed almost instantly by another blast. It's almost unplayable, but totally bullshit. The flying tutorial on GTA San Andreas. Wow, another GTA nomination? Well, they're great, but very frustrating. Any hardcore GTA fan knows how much of a bitch this bit is. Okay, so this time you're being bossed about by James Woods, who wants you to learn how to fly. So you go to an abandoned airstrip, and it's here where you have to learn how to fly a plane by completing a certain number of flight tutorials. The first few focus on takeoff and landing, but then later progress to flying in straighter lines, or in circles, and then landing. Seems fair enough. But it gets about as fair as having to look at Sarah Jessica Parker's face. Whilst flying in these tutorials, you have to show your accuracy flying by flying directly into floating circles in the sky. By going through a circle, you'll get a certain number of points, which adds up to a percentage. You'll need to obtain a certain percentage of accuracy in order to progress to the next stage, but there's very little in the way of room for mistakes. If you miss a circle, you'll get marked down and fail. But if you turn around in midair and go back to the circle, you'll waste too much time and lose out on points. Basically, you need to be 100% f***ing accurate whilst flying in this game, and this is not a game with good flying controls. It reminds me a lot of Superman 64. But you'd think it'd be simple, like in Battlefield 1942 or any other game that has flying controls. But this one's controls are too delayed, and it's incredibly difficult to judge the right altitude of the circles. Most of the time, it looks like you're perfectly in line with the centre of the circle, but then you end up flying straight over it. I can't do it, but I can't carry on the game until I've passed the tutorial. Massive bullshit right here. The ending to Halo 2. I could have put Halo 2 on here as a nomination in itself, but I think the ending is even worse. The best way to describe this game is that it's just a game to fill the space between Halo and Halo 3. They've added a new playable character that no one really cares about. Except for his sword, which kicks ass. And all it really succeeds in doing is laying the way for the third game, but the ending is where the bullshit lies. Throughout the game, you're waiting for the story to build up into the intensity that was present in the first game, and you start to get pissed off when you realise that this is not the case. All of a sudden, things start to liven up again, and you get all excited. The Master Chief is heading headlong back into the fight to kick ass like he did in the first game, and then... the end? What? No, you don't just end things like that. That'd be like if they cut Raiders of the Lost Ark short a few minutes by having Indy shouting to the girl to keep her eyes shut, and then the bad guys open up the Ark and then it just says, the end. Or, hell, no, in The Godfather, when Vito has that heart attack in the garden, and then they just end the film there. Why leave things at that moment? That's fucking bullshit. Motherbase. The Metal Gear Solid franchise is packed with so many memorable moments that it's almost sacrilege to even think that there's bullshit to be found here. But what can it be, I wonder? The boss fight versus the Sorrow in Snake Eater? I mean, come on, how bored must you have been to figure out how to beat him? Liquid Snake somehow surviving in a severed arm? So is the arm where Conscious Thought can be found? Well, these are bad, but personally, I think the way that the Motherbase functions in Peace Walker should be in the spotlights for the bullshit award this time round. To begin with, it's quite a nice addition in the same way as upgrading Monteriggione was in Assassin's Creed 2, but unless you keep up to date with it, then you'll suffer big time later in the game. Some missions cannot be started unless you have developed certain weapons through the Motherbase. If you haven't done that, then you need to do it before starting the mission, but development doesn't happen instantly, which would have been a good idea. Instead, you have to kill time by playing previous missions over and over again until enough time has passed. Sometimes I find myself playing one particular mission several times before I can even attempt the next mission. Now, this wouldn't have been too much of a drama if this game was exclusively for the PSP, but I'm playing this game on the Xbox 360, and I don't want to have to replay previous missions constantly just to kill time. The Motherbase just adds an unnecessary element to the game and succeeds only at wasting a huge amount of time, and so wins this runner-up prize to this bullshit competition.
One more time, got me feeling so free.
The boss fights in Prince of Persia. Yep, you guessed it. This game wins the title of biggest bullshit moment in video game history for me for one main reason. How the bosses regain most of their health when you get knocked down in the boss fights. The fact that this game has given you immortality does not mean that it's easy. Oh no. Instead, they've designed a game that you cannot lose, but at the same time, cannot win. The boss fights are almost impossible unless you have the reflexes of the point man from Fear. After getting knocked down by a boss, you have less than a second, and I'm deadly serious about that, to hit a certain button. But by the time you've realised which button you are supposed to press, it's too late, and Elika steps in to save you. Now you regain a small amount of health, but the bosses regain pretty much all of its lost health. Why is that necessary? I obviously can't do this fight, so the last thing that should happen is that the bosses regain their health at any point. Complete bullshit of a feature, complete bullshit of a game. End of f***ing story. And if you thought this was bullshit, then like and subscribe to my channel either here or at the True Review website. But until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.
Merci. Merci. Jesus mercy.
The prisoner wishes to say a word.
Bacon and eggs.